About 20% of the US population is chronically late. So, I don't think, and I know people who are late and they don't like it. Some people don't care. We'll get over, I'm just going to go through the 7 tips of always being on time. But some people, most people, don't like being late. They really don't. And they're like, I'm so sorry I'm late. I'm so sorry I'm late. And according to a psychiatrist friend of mine, that could be masking a deeper issue of guilt that people seek the need to apologize all the time. Anyway, I'm not going to get psychoanalytical. Let's just talk about why we shouldn't be, not why we shouldn't be late, really, is because when people are late, especially in a business situation, but it tells people that you're disorganized. You could be easily distracted. It might be that they consider you self-centered or just generally inconsiderate. But psychologically and subconsciously, these are the messages that people are receiving when other people are late. Now, we're talking about chronically late. I'm not talking about somebody who's late because they had a flat tire. I mean, everybody understands emergencies, I hope. But we're talking about people who are chronically late. So 7 tips to always be on time. First of all, as in any situation, you have to admit you have a problem. You can't fix the problem if you don't think you have one. So the first tip would be admit you have a problem. And then you can label it and develop a plan of how to overcome it. Second of all, find out why. Like I said earlier, one psychiatrist friend of mine that I was talking to said that some people are chronically late because they feel the need to apologize all the time. Hey, good morning, Mary Therese. Happy to track you down. Hey, sign up for email or text message notifications or email notifications because I put the specific link for everyday show in that link. So in the show notes or in the post, it'll give you a link to the Remind app. And you can sign up for text or email notifications. It'll give you the specific link for that day's show, and it goes out 10 minutes before I start. Good morning, Tammy. How are my gorgeous gals this morning? Hey, Natasha. So find out why. Some people are adrenaline junkies. They love rushing around because they get a rush of adrenaline. Like, oh, I'm running late. And, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And it's like the thrill of the chase. Other people, it's a temperament issue. It depends on what temperament they are. And they just may be that type of temperament that is a little bit the absent-minded professor. They're like, oh, that was today? And it could just be that they're easily distracted. Other people, speaking of temperaments, but this isn't necessarily a temperament, this is another thing, is a power play. Oh, they'll wait for me. I'm important. So that's a subconscious, or don't get into all of that. Some people just overbook. You have to learn to say no, and that could be a temperament issue as well, a people pleaser. Or that fear of missing out, so people say yes to everything, and then consequently they don't have time to do everything. Or it's just plain out bad time management. I'm currently not accepting people into the Autopilot program. I want to get that one polished up and fixed up before anybody else starts it. So we kind of had an alpha testing that was $97, and then I'm holding now because now it's just the recordings and I want to get all the email sequences done. I actually talked yesterday to the head of Kartra sequencing and pointed out some issues, and so I'm now being kind of helping him about with a couple of things. So anyway, so if you want to take that Autopilot program, the program itself is not for sale. If you still want to do alpha testing at $97, that's fine. Just understand that the sequencing isn't set up and the workbooks aren't finished and that type of thing. And then when it's being released later, it's going to be a lot more expensive. Natasha says, my tardiness is poor time management, trying to squeeze in too many things. Working and calculating and adding time to tasks outcome better. We're going to talk exactly what we're going to talk about, Natasha. So you got it nailed. So not only do you understand you have the issue, you know why, and you've already got a lot of the things I'm going to talk about you just kind of mentioned. Hey, good morning, Debbie. I know 2 people that are always an hour late. One of them asked if we moved the meeting times later, they'd be on time. No. No. Tammy says it's shame to say I'm usually chronically late. Teresa says I'm usually late. Okay, so cool. We'll talk. You overbook. We're going to talk about that. All right. So tip number 3 is to stop polytasking. So this is what researchers have caused. I forget they call it I forget what the researchers called it. But multitasking, where you're trying to do too many things at once. And we talked about this in a couple of the different courses that I've taught, that your mind cannot multitask. You can't do 2 things at the same time. So you can't focus on your finger here and focus on your finger here. You have to divide your time between the 2. Now, you can do 2 things at the same time that use different parts of your brain. You can wash dishes and carry on a conversation. So that's like you're washing, but you're listening. So there's those types of things you can do. But what we're talking about in this particular instance, when we're talking about being late, is polytasking. So this is when you polytask and fall behind, right? That it's when you're getting ready to go someplace, and then you're like, oh, but I haven't emptied the dishwasher. But I could probably brush my hair and empty the dishwasher at the same time. Oh, and I got to make this phone call before I leave. And it's bad time management, really, is what it is, because these are important but not urgent. Your urgent thing, and we've talked about that before, remember the quadrant, your urgent thing is getting out of the house and being on time to your meeting. So prioritizing that. So it's bad time management, bad prioritization, and then trying to polytask, trying to get all these things in at the last minute before you dash out the door to get something done. Also, people who are chronically late, they're showing this little bugger. People are constantly checking their messages, or the phone will ping. And this is what I talk about in the time management, the Put Your Day on Autopilot course, the stress management course. I talk about this in a lot of things. Do one thing at a time and put the phone away. Right now, they say people are on their phones 13 and a half hours a day. We've talked about not being on your phone for 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed at night, or any type of electronic device because it messes with your brain waves. So putting the phone down and not doing all these tiny little tasks, learning to prioritize and get your quadrant in order. Is it urgent and is it important? That, and getting out of the door and being on time should be that quadrant, urgent and important, right? All right, number 4. Speaking of routines, rituals, and habits, prepare. And this, if your house is organized, if you're, the reason you're late is because you're constantly running around looking for your keys or your wallet or your purse or whatever, then everything has a place. Put everything in its place. Your keys should be in one spot. Your wallet should go in one spot when you come in the door, or your purse. Decide what you're going to wear the night before is another thing to prepare in advance. And so that if you have to leave first thing in the morning and you know you're not clear-headed in the morning, decide now what you're going to wear the following morning and then set it out. My husband hangs out his clothes every night. I always see what's hanging there, oh, I better steam that real quick, But I always see it hanging there because he knows he just comes in, takes a shower, it's already there and ready to go. He's planned, because he doesn't think well in the morning. And since he knows that, he plans ahead. So prepare ahead of time is number 4. Number 5, remember Murphy's Law. If something can go wrong, it probably will. There might be traffic. There might be an accident. There might be construction. There might be a lot of things might happen. And we were raised on Lombardi time. You're 15 minutes early for everything. Is that a horrible thing? I mean, I didn't show up at someone's house 15 minutes early. I might sit down the street, check my email, return a couple of phone calls, send a text message to someone, that type of thing before I pulled up to the door. But I would rather be 15 minutes early and sit down the street, or, hey, now's a great, I'm early. Well, great, I'll gas up my car now so I don't have to do it later. Oh, I'm running early. So, okay, maybe I'll run in and get the coffee now. I've got a couple of minutes. And be careful with that, because that kind of falls under polytasking. Oh, I'm 15 minutes early. I can go shopping, and a half an hour later, you come out of the store. So you have to be wise with that type of thing, too. Hey, good morning, Janet. Stop in and listen. Yep, another great live. Thank you. you. We're going to cut it short, too, because this is going to be a short one this morning because I have to go downstairs and eat, and I've got an ebook. I actually finished one ebook last night, and I'm working on another one. And then the ebook for this month, I'm doing one ebook a month for the gorgeous gals. This month's ebook is on accessories. So that's what I'm working on today as well. So Murphy's Law is number 5. If something could happen, it's going to happen. Now, of course, if you have a flat tire and it's an emergency and that type of thing, people do understand that. But people aren't always so accepting of the other lateness. Mom always said we should be 5 minutes early. Any bit early is better than being late in my book. Hey, good morning, Joanne. That's what many have forgotten. Do they add extra stuff? Email checking. Yeah, if you're early. Yep. I'm killing it. Thanks, Sarah. All right, number 6. Love accessories. Number 6 is magical thinking. Fairy dust. Google Maps says it's a 17-minute drive. I've made that drive before in 12. I'll bet you I can do it in 12. Or, basically things are always going to take you longer than you think they're going to take you. Plan accordingly. This is not the time to be overly optimistic about what you can get done. All right. I'm a writer. I'm usually pretty good about being on my deadlines. And then I found out that editors set deadlines like a month before they really want something. And then I'm like, oh, well, then I'm going to polish this article up a little bit more. Or I've got another chapter I can write, But don't fall into this magical thinking, this over-optimistic attitude of, sure, I can get that to you. And I was told early on, when I first started modeling, my agent said, learn these 2 words and you will get more jobs than anybody else. No problem. And unfortunately, I've carried that through I started modeling when I was 14. So I kind of learned that word early. And Mary Kay Clark. And God love her, God rest her soul. And it's so true. You want to be easy to work with. So I got in the habit of saying, no problem, and then figure out a way to get it done. And I usually do that. But now that I'm older and projects are getting bigger and, now it becomes more of a prudence issue. You have to look at things a little bit differently. It might be a problem. So I had to learn to rephrase the no problem all the time. But it became such a habit for me to say, no problem, I'll get that to you. No problem, I'd love to help. No problem, So if you ever hear me saying no problem, be careful. I might have a problem. And I do, and this is my optimistic thinking. I can get it done. Doggone it. I'll stay up all night, but I will get this done because my word is my bond. And I told somebody I'd have it for them, and I will. So, not falling into this magical thinking that you can get it done. And researchers call it planning fallacy. It's just people underestimate how long a task is going to take. How many people do that? I'm super guilty of that. Super guilty. You're saying all the things of why I'm late, says Victoria. Signing off. All right, good luck at your seminar. Let me know how it goes, Anne Marie. Gosh, you're funny. Lovely voice, thank you. I wish I could wear necklaces. Can't they give you a headache? Interesting. I've done that too early and then go do something. Yep, the chronic lateness is subliminally or eroded. That'll do that, Tammy. It really will. Yeah. Sorry I'm late. Oh, Vicki, I love you. All right, so that's the magical thinking. Maybe I can get ready in 30 minutes, but let's plan for 40. So don't fall into being overly optimistic when you're planning time, right? Whatever you think it's going to take you, add 10, 15 minutes. Or add, depending on the project, right? Add 10% or 20% to whatever you think it's going to take you. Add some on to give yourself that cushion. And then still plan on being 15 minutes early. Still plan on, so for example, when editors give me a writing deadline, and it's next Friday. Now, why they make deadlines on Friday never made sense to me. Why aren't the deadlines on Monday? Because I get it to them on 5 p.m. on Friday. They're not going to take it home over the weekend and work on it. And I'm like, can I get it to you Monday? But anyway, so whenever I'm given a deadline, I back it up a day or a couple of days, and I get it to them. I plan to finish early because something will come up. So that gives me a couple of extra days cushion on my end to see if I can get it to them a little bit late. And number 7 is it's okay to be early. Use your time wisely. So read a book, call your mom, send a love note, um, catch up on something, pray, meditate, sit in silence, and do it. Do a power nap. Get the app on your phone to do a power nap. There's so many different things you can do with that time, with good time management. If you're running a few minutes early, that is okay. Just don't, like I said, don't say, oh, I'm going to run in the store. I'm early, so I'm going to do something else. It would be a good self-care time to sit and just do some meditation. So anyway, that's today's really quick short show. What was that animated character that always whistled like that? So just to recap, first of all, admit you have a problem. Second of all, find out why. Why are you late? Are you an adrenaline junkie? Is it a temperament issue? Is it a power play? Is it a time management issue? Do you overbook? Bad time management? Which is it? So find out your why. Stop polytasking. Stop multitasking. You learn that time management skill of this is urgent and this is important, to get out of the house on time, to be someplace on time. And don't try to do a bunch of other stuff. This is your prime objective, is to get out of the house and get someplace on time. Number 4 is prepare. Use those routines, rituals, and habits. Put your keys in the same place. Put your wallet or purse in the same place. Lay out your clothing the night before. Prepare, prepare, prepare. Number 5, prepare for Murphy's Law. Expect something to happen that's going to make you run late. Again, when I'm giving an editor gives me a deadline of Friday, I plan to get it to them by Wednesday or Thursday. That means that if something happens on my end and I get it to them Thursday or Friday, I'm still in time. So plan that, and then use the Lombardi. That kind of falls under Lombardi time of being 15 minutes early. Plan in your calendar when something is due on a particular date, plan on getting it done a couple of days early. So if you've ever in school had to write a term paper, what happens? You wait until the last minute to do it anyway. So give yourself an earlier deadline, get it done early, then it's out of the way. It's good for your stress level too. Magical thinking, don't be overly optimistic. Always give yourself that extra pad of not, oh, I can get there faster, or oh, I can get this done. It's called planning fallacy. It's a thing. We have this overly optimistic idea in our head. And if you are early, use the time wisely for self-care, self-management, reaching out to loved ones, or just sitting and doing absolutely positively nothing. And that means no games on your phone. I think people should delete all the little games off their phone and instead use that time for meditation, use that time for prayer, use that time for reaching out to loved ones. If we got rid of what it's called, Candy Crush and all that kind of stuff, I still have a couple on my phone, and I'm down. I have one, I think now. I think it's one, and I've never spent a penny on those games either. So, and you know what? I now have none. I'm just going to delete it off my phone right now. Why have it, right? Delete. Delete it? Delete. Okay, it's gone.